So in the previous video, we were looking at the changes scalar versus Swagger, and we said we're going to use scalar in this video. Now we want to proceed to creating actual endpoints so that you are conversant with the CRUD operations, which is create, read, update, and delete. So what I will do is I'm going to create a folder. I'll call it models. So before we bring in the entity framework stuff, the database, we're going to use an inbuilt repository. So let's right click and we'll say add a folder. I'll call this models, models, whatever suits you better. We want to control books, so it's only fair that we have a book class. So let's get a class. We'll call that book, like so. And what should a book have? A book could have the same an ID. Okay, so we want a book to have, I'll say prop int ID. Then it can have a title, can have an author, maybe a genre. Let's put ID there so that we do not fight. So in this series, we're using one model, but as we progress in our API series, we'll bring in entity relationships. So how to see one to many, many to many. For now, we just want you to understand the CRUD. Okay. So I said we're not going to have we're not going to have a database for now. We're going to use a built-in database. So the best way to do this is to bring in a repository. So I'll create a class. And I click on the models, create a class, call that class book repository, and we'll make it static so I can just call it out of the fly. So book repository, and all we'll have, so we'll make it static. Make it static. Then we're going to say public static. Give us a list of book, which is the book is now that object we've created. Code books is equal to a new list of book, and you are going to give us a bunch of books. So we just have like a new book, just 5 of them. Saying The Great Gatsby by Fitzgerald. The genre is fiction. We can have another one called 1984, and the author is George Orwell. Or it knows. Then we can have another book that could be maybe To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird, and this was written by Harper Lee. 5 books, and the genre is fiction. Then we can have a classic. I think we have JD, and the genre is fiction. I think we have, how many books we have so far? We have about 4 books, right? I need to close that, and we need to put that. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Right, so we have a static list with our books over there. I'm going to delete the control that came with Microsoft. So remove that. I'll remove the weather focused class as well, so that we start on a clean slate, right? So I'm going to create a controller. We'll call that controller books controller. Whether books controller book, it's a fight. So we'll just make sure you select the API there, Then we're going to call that books controller. Books controller, like so. And we are going to have our first function, which is to get all the books. So in the CRUD, the R is read, which is get. So we'll create what we call a decorator there, which signifies the type of the method it will have. It's an API language. So I'll say get me um, get return okay, and get me the repository. So this needs to come in. Just by doing the book repository books, it'll get us all the books. So I'm going to run this and see. So Scalar lands, it's able to say API.books. I'll get that. I'll say test request. Then I'm going to send that. And you'll see that it will get me the books that I have. Interesting. Let's proceed. Now we want to get a single book based off an ID, since an ID is a unique key. So it will still be a get, which is a read request. Then I'll say HTTP get. But this is unique because I would like to get by ID. So the API needs to know what is dynamic within the get request. So within this decorator, you're going to tell it that it will have something that will be dynamic, that will change over time, an ID, for instance. Then I'll have a public I get by ID. Then we'll say, before you start getting, you have to search, does it exist, right? So I'll say var book is equal to book repository dot first or default dot first. Okay, sorry, book dot books first. We need to tell it what we want here. Dot first or default. Then we'll say we want to get u where u dot id is equal to id. So get us in the books where the ID is equal to the ID we are getting, and there could be two scenarios ideally. Of course, things could crash, and we'll talk about exceptions. The book could be now, meaning it doesn't exist. I've put an ID that's not there. So a not found there tells you that it hasn't been found. If it's found, then please, by all means, just give me the book, right? So we'll run this to see if we can get the book. So there it has, book ID. You see the ID there is already dynamic. Then I'll say test. Then I have to give it the ID, which is, you see there's variables there. It says the ID is required. I'll put a value of 1, and I'll send. I'll hit send. Once I send, I do get the get Gatsby. If I put a 10 there, it should tell me not found. F44 not found. Perfect. So we've done the R. We'll go to the C, which is create. But in API language, it's called post.